think with that, we might as well move into our Badass of the Year discussion.
Woo-hoo.
I sent you some stats over there. Every year, every week, we try to do our Badass of the Week, just taking a look at the outstanding performances by members of the 5 teams we cover here. Just kind of a fun way to point those out. It doesn't have to be an incredible week of statistics. It could be an incredible play. Usually it works out to where we just kind of tabulate the stats every week. But when we talk about the year, obviously we're going to take into consideration the entire statistical accumulation of each of those. I don't think anyone is up to that a high enough standard with the Cubs or the A's, which officially, as of yesterday, November 4th, they are now the Athletics or the A's. They're not the Oakland Athletics. They're not the Sacramento Athletics. They are not the West. Apparently, they're the West. They're going to be the West Sacramento Athletics. I don't know if that's still real. Eventually, maybe they'll be the Las Vegas Athletics if that ever comes to fruition. But I don't think we're gonna have any badasses of the year nominations, unless you had a badass from your fantasy team. I think you had a couple A's on it, but
I
that
did.
you wanted
I
to
don't
nominate, but
I don't know.
not enough to note here.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Well, I sent you some stats over there for a few candidates. I kind of went through just a simple way to do this would be to look at the year's WAR accumulations, and there's one that really surprised me. If you want to start out with that at the top of the list.
Yeah, so we talked about this a few episodes back. Buster Posey's first move pre-GM was to sign Matt Chapman to a ridiculous contract. Not making zero sense whatsoever for the team, but if you look at this, maybe it did make sense. Matt Chapman with a 7.1 WAR this year, the highest of anyone in our badass candidates, and definitely the highest of anyone on any of our teams. He had 27 home runs, 98 runs, 78 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, and a 125 OPS plus. I mean, I thought he'd have like a decent year, but he definitely had like a throwback year for him statistically.
Yeah, he was great defensively too, which led to the high WAR as well. But I think I forgot to write down. I think he had 39 doubles as well. That's kind of what boosted up that OPS plus. But yeah, he's also interesting because a lot of people in Detroit wanted Scott Harris to sign him for the Tigers during the last offseason. So that's definitely an asshole name that's going to keep coming up, especially since he's got a 5-year deal now.
Oh God, way too long. I'll tell you that. Up next, surprising we would have a candidate from a 121 loss team, but
yeah,
I'm not even sure where the strikeouts would be if Garrett Crochet pitched 190 innings. But in 142 innings this year, he struck out 203 batters.
Yeah, I saw that stat, and that's why I had to nominate him despite his 6-12 record, which is clearly not his fault. He did end up with a 3.5 ERA. I think he kind of tailed off at the end of the season just from overuse. But that is eye popping, that strikeout rate, and like you said, that's going to be incredible. He should be under no innings restrictions next year. It'll be fascinating to see what that strikeout total could get to with a fully activated Garrett Crochet.
And just to keep things consistent, he secured a 4.1 WAR this year, so not too bad. Well, I mean, the next guy goes without saying. I mean, what a season! What foresight for me to draft him for my fantasy winning baseball team. But it is Tarik Skubal, 6.3 WAR, 18-4, 2.39 ERA, a whip under 1, 0.922, 228 Ks and 192 innings pitched, Triple Crown winner. I mean, I don't think it gets any more badass than that.
Well, I mean, the Triple Crown is such a rare thing. I don't remember the last time at least an American League pitcher got the Triple Crown, but yeah, leading the American League in ERA, Ks, and wins is an astounding accomplishment. I think this we could. I mean, we can do anything we want, but the stats I pulled up are regular season stats. But you could also include Tarik in the postseason, which he was stellar, except for one fateful inning, which essentially knocked them out of the playoffs. But just a complete badass. I still contend. I think I brought this up maybe last. Yeah, it must have been last show. I think the Tigers would have gone to the World Series if they had won Game 4 of the division series against the Guardians, because they would have been able to use Skubal in Game 1 of the ALCS and potentially Game 4 and 7. And I think the Tigers could have beaten the Yankees with being able to use Skubal up to three times in that series. So
Yeah.
It's just so brutal. The Tigers had a lead in that Game 4, and the bullpen uncharacteristically blew it. But then forcing that Game 5, which I felt sort of confident going into, but again, Skubal started out great. I think he had 4 great innings, and then it just fell apart in the 5th, and that was the end of it. But that's the kind of badass we're looking for, a guy that can change a series. That would make me think that the Tigers could have actually made the World Series, because he was so damn good. And if you could throw him 3 times on reasonable rest, that's a weapon that no one else had. I think they would have gotten killed by the Dodgers, by the way, but I was not impressed with the Yankees. I'm still not impressed with the Yankees. So that's where my head went there. I still wanted to sticking with my Tigers. We didn't do a whole segment about the Tigers, but I'm kind of turning this into one. I guess the only other nomination I would give that isn't on the list, and it's not a statistical thing, but that's the fun we can have on a podcast with the categories we make up on our own. I think you could throw in at least AJ Hinch, or maybe a combination of AJ Hinch and the Tigers bullpen as badasses of the year, as they were the reason a huge reason beyond Skubal, why the Tigers were the best team in baseball for the last 2 months of the season. They put together, through matchups, through pitching chaos, as it became known. They forged together like the best staff in baseball for those last 2 months that propelled them into the playoffs completely unexpectedly, after 60% of their rotation either was injured or traded away. They figured it out in amazing ways. Not sure that's a sustainable model. We'll get into it probably next episode as we talk about the Tigers and our other teams' free agent targets. They're gonna have to add some rotation depth for sure, but for those 2 months, they were the greatest and the biggest badasses. But I don't think I want to make them. I wanted to throw that name out there, or that idea out there. I'm not going to name them our badasses of the year, but I think I know what direction you're going. I think I definitely know what direction I'm going. If you want to let the folks know where your head's at.
My head is landslide victory for Tarik Skubal. I know you're probably going Matt Chapman, but I'm going to go Tarik Skubal on this one.
I'm going to go Tarik Skubal as well. For obvious reasons. So I think it's very clear we can declare Tarik Skubal our badass of the year for 2024.
I know he was unavailable to join the podcast today, but Smitty, he'd like you to accept this award upon his behalf.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all the people at Major League A-Holes for this prestigious award. I will be sure to be in contact with Skubal as soon as I can to hand him this award. We got to figure out, is there a trophy involved? What would a badass of the year trophy look like? I'll have to work on that.
I don't know. Something foul, since it's from us.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, that's it for badass of the year. I feel good about that. I forget who we gave it to in previous years. I think last year was Luis Robert? Oh, I'm sure it was Luis Robert.
Yeah, his numbers were disgusting.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll continue this tradition going forward.